Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Astrology Table for Two.
And there's always a third chair for you. I'm Rachel.
I'm April.
And this is Astrology Table for Two,
where there's always a chair for you.
We're missing Jordan again this week, but never fear. It's a dynamic duo talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. We're actually recording day of this moon, so kind of unusual for us, but like it happened a few hours ago. So
yeah, it's super fresh.
Sunday, the 1st of December at 12:22 a.m. Central Standard Time. That is when the moon was new in the sign of Sagittarius at 9 degrees of Sag, Sag being the 9th sign in the zodiac, our mutable fire sign ruled by Jupiter and represented by the centaur Archer. It rules the thighs, the legs, and the liver. And April just brought to my attention as well, this moon is within about 10-15 degree minutes from a very important fixed star there in Sagittarius, the fixed star Antares. So how are you feeling about this new moon, April?
Well, I love a new moon in Sagittarius, but there are so many complicating factors with this new moon. It feels a little bit hindered or a little bit muted versus just the pure fun energy that would typically come with a new moon in Sag.
And that's also characteristic of Antares. So quick background for all listening on Antares. It's one of the 15 Bohemian fixed stars. If you look up the 15 Bohemian fixed stars, we've been talking about those since time immemorial. We watch them in the sky, all different civilizations, and they portend many things. And this star is one of the 4 royal stars, so even more important. And it literally means the rival of Mars.
Yes.
So force that rivals force, meaning this star is inherently about competition, about adversity, and also about the overcoming of such. Think like Achilles.
Yes.
And so for me too, like what you just said, right? This new moon, usually it's fun. New moon in Sag, like inspiration, creativity. What do I want to go do? My dreams, my visions, my discoveries, my curiosities.
Set intentions.
But this is a new moon on that kind of raw, powerful star Antares, and also square to Saturn. So I'm getting this big like resistance energy.
Yeah. This is, I think, especially because we still are in Mercury retrograde shadow, that we have the opportunity to think about patterns and conflict that has been around for a while. What challenging aspects have you been dealing with, maybe again and again, that we're trying to break through? Or it's almost like that last stand, like that battle. I just immediately go to Game of Thrones, when Jon Snow is trying to take back the North, and it's like everything is lost until at the very end.
Arya Stark comes in.
Yes.
Just like the centaur Archer with her little blade.
Exactly.
Hi-ya! Drop.
Exactly.
So Sagittarian.
It's that like last resistance is the one that pushes through and opposes, and you finally conquer the
There's
enemy.
no reason that a little girl should conquer the Night King. And yet with a sleight of hand, that's exactly how it happens. Ooh, I love that for this moon.
Right.
That is so this, especially because you're totally right. Mercury is retrograde. So this is not about just present stuff. We're reviewing things personally and socially, right? There's a lot at the larger scale that we're really trying to look back on. But as well, this moon's closest aspect is not the square to Saturn, but it's a trine to Mars in its retrograde shadow at 5 degrees of Leo. And so for me, this moon is personal in a way that moons in Sag are not always so personal.
Yeah, that's very true. It could normally be very external. It's everything
Yes.
happening around you, where your vision, you're looking ahead. But this, you're right. It's almost like we're taking that mirror and turning it back around and reflecting internally.
Especially too, because the ruler of this moon, Jupiter, is opposite to the moon, pretty closely opposite over there in Gemini, and it has gestation retrograde. So Jupiter is really slow, opposing the moon. Mars is really slow, trining the moon, but it's bringing in those Leonine themes of the solar, the life force, the personal, the self. And then Jupiter, in its detriment in Gemini, is that mirror, forcing reflection. Like, hey, look at are you living out your values? There's what you imagine, envision, sort of purport to value. And then there's the actual lived daily experience of your life. And so I feel like there's a big mirror, and it's coming for our highest good. That trine with Mars, I like.
Oh, yeah, it's a good aspect.
But it's like, what do you want to change? And specifically, what challenging parts of ourselves, I think with Mars, do we want to cut out?
Absolutely.
What are we finished with? That square with Saturn, it's a big no.
Yeah.
What are we done with?
Yeah, what are we not going to put up with anymore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both externally and internally. New
Yes.
moon, right?
Exactly. New moon, new us.
And this moon is also trine to the North Node at 4 Aries and sextile to the South Node at 4 Libra. So I get a karmic component here too. We're almost done with this Aries Libra axis. It changes signs, heads into Pisces and Virgo in January. And so I think these opportune trines and sextiles, flowing angles, it's going to really help us out with that kind of what do we need to let go of?
I love that you have unlearning here, because it feels very much like, if we're thinking about Sagittarius and higher learning and higher knowledge, the pursuit of ultimate truth and spirituality. So we're releasing, we're pulling things apart and trying to unwind maybe what have we assumed is absolute truth that maybe isn't.
Yes.
What have we taken for granted as, oh, this is just the way it is, versus how can we unpack it and say, well, maybe that was true for a past version of myself, but what am I doing now moving forward?
And just saying, Sagittarius rules the legs and the liver. So I'm thinking about movement and consumption being big Sagittarius themes, right? There's joy and movement, and there's joy in the cheer of imbibing. But also I think this moon is going to ask us how we want to evolve our patterns of both. And what does self-actualization actually look like? We've all been taught to fit molds socially.
Yeah.
And sometimes even our dreams, like you might think you've always wanted to be a doctor, but maybe it's your parents who have always wanted you to be a doctor.
Yeah.
So that unlearning is like, what is me and what is everything else?
Yes, 100%. It's like asking yourself those reflective questions. What do I actually like? Is this something I chose? Is this something I truly believe? And just evaluate it and maybe just sit with it. And let the truth of it come forward without trying to force it. I think going slow is a big theme here. Things are not going to happen quickly.
Mercury's retrograde, Jupiter's retrograde, Mars is fixing to station. Yeah, nowhere fast.
We're going nowhere fast. So don't be frustrated if these answers take some time to come forward.
This moon also reminds me of that line in the Bible about testing the spirits.
Ooh, go with that. I like this.
And I mean, this can be both, like, let's just be real, like, how much do you want to drink, right? That's part of testing the spirits. What does drinking
100%.
make you do? Or, any other sort of inebriating intoxicant. But there's also like, faith will be tested.
Yes.
And it's a requisite thing to actually have faith. If faith is never tested, is it faith? It's kind of like resilience. Are you strong if your strength has never been challenged? Do you know?
Exactly. It's untested love. It's, commitment without challenge. All of those things that we feel like, oh, this is this is where I am, this is how I feel, it's good, until, and that can happen, that can carry you on that wave until, you hit some rocks, you hit some challenge, you got Saturn showing up in a big way. And then, okay, what do you really believe now that your feet are being held to the fire?
And also that faith component, I feel like there's an evolution of this faith component, or even with Pluto and Aquarius, a revolution. Like there is this processing that we're doing, I think, externally with the moon in Sag and also with Mercury in Sag, kind of like that touching the hot stove to know heat is real, right?
Oh, absolutely. Learning the lesson the hard way.
Mm-hmm. But I think we have the opportunity we can be embodying this moon in a more intentional way, right? And actually proactively do some of these things. Sagittarius is an incredibly joyful and creative sign, and especially with Jupiter and Gemini. You want to write? You want to read? You want to create? What are you going to do? What's your, where do you want to run to? Why? Those big questions. I think there's a lot of energy for that expression, self-expression, if we choose to work with it.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like you're speaking directly to me right now, which is, this is so where I am personally. And so, that the truth of something when you hear it, you feel it, and it just, there's that resonance. And so this is the energy of the moment. I would say, just like Rachel explained, be intentional, pick up that pen, pick up that book, do whatever you are, seeking to do. And I want to get into this Gemini situation because I love Gemini for its duality, for its like two things being true, or having two goals. It's always a double, or the flip side, dual-bodied, right? And so there's something here too about what are the two things, or the duplicate. What's coming up that makes you feel like it's not just one goal, but two or multiple, or needing to focus on the yin and the yang. Like it's not just one or the other.
I always say with astrology, when I'm reading charts, the chart will tell me something important more than once. Always tell me something important more than once. And I think with this moon's trine and sextile to the nodes, whatever the important message is, that internal realization, it's going to come up in more than one way. And these ways might be very disparate. They might even seem unrelated, but it's the same personal, evolutionary, purpose-driven expression, right? We're all put on Earth, and Sagittarius believes this, right? For our journey, for our purpose, for our own, the element we add to the quality of everything around us. And I wrote it down here, but I believe this lunar cycle, these 2 weeks, right? They're pretty charged. This is a pretty active 2 weeks, that the universe is going to be quick in responding.
Yeah.
So you'll know with the karma real quick. Like, was that the right choice or not? And it'll come right in front of you and confirm or deny.
Yeah, tight feedback loop.
Yes.
You're going to get that instant feedback, and you'll know, is this aligned? Is this not? How am I being course corrected? And it's almost like test and iterate, test and iterate. This is an opportunity to really throw things out there and get that feedback from the universe. That is a treasure and a gift.
Test and check.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of transcending the past that I get here too, past patterns specifically, and maybe even testing past faith. Like, why do you believe what you believe? How long have you believed that? Why did you first believe that? Do you believe it now? Does the universe actually conform to the beliefs you have? Or are you sitting there believing it in the face of everything else you've seen to the contrary?
Exactly.
These are
big questions. It's existential. It's it's pushing you beyond, it's internal and external. It's that beautiful duality we were talking about.
And with that Antares conjunction, like you so kindly brought up, it's going to be work. Mars is about to station retrograde, trying to where this moon is. And it's happening in this lunar cycle. So work, doing, undoing is also on the menu.
Yeah.
So speaking of that Mars station, perhaps we should transition, take a break for a word from our sponsors before we get into the transits of this cycle.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Okay, we are back with the transits of this upcoming lunar cycle. First, we have Mars stationing retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo on Friday, December 6th at 5:32 p.m. Central Time. Leo is the fifth sign, fixed fire, ruled by the sun. It's symbolized by the lion and rules the heart, spine, and upper back. With this dynamic, we also have Mars in retrograde. So what are you thinking about this, Rachel?
I think we can't talk about this without talking about something that happened slightly before. And I didn't, I had to pick three. And so this transit didn't make it. But there is a Mercury cazimi, or a Mercury retrograde conjunction with the sun that's happening on the 5th, the day before this. And then Mars stations. And so we have this double, reflect. But there is a moment of clarity. And I think that moment of clarity the day before here is going to give us or inform this Mars retrograde. Because this Mars retrograde happens in Leo and in Cancer. And Leo is the sign of the sun. Cancer is the sign of the moon, aka personal expression, internal, felt, sensed reality. This is personal.
Wow.
And it's a lot of self-editing, each of us self-editing. But the cazimi right beforehand, I think, is going to give us sort of an aha that will clue us in to maybe what we can make of this Mars retrograde. But Mars retrograde happens about once every 2 years. So if a year contains a Mars retrograde, which this is going to span a couple of years, right, 2024 into 2025, it's a huge signature.
Really?
It's very important.
Okay.
Mars retrogrades less than any of the other inner planets. And when it does, it retrogrades for longer. We won't be out of Leo and Cancer, I think, until June of 25.
Okay.
It's a lot of Mars in Leo and Mars in Cancer. But I think that this retrograde is going to give us some great material for reforming or revising our internal and external identities.
That is so exciting. I think we all need that right now. I love the idea of kind of having that light bulb moment on the 5th. And then, so pay attention. What is ding, ding, ding happening? Shining, the energy is shining light, that spark, like you said, that cluing you in on what this is going to be about for you personally. And then digging in through January 6th and kind of working through the process.
Right. And Mars will remain retrograde in Leo until it re-enters Cancer on January 6th. And it will still be retrograde, but just not in Leo anymore. So from now until January 6th, you're working with Mars retrograde in Leo. For you and I, we're Leo risings. This is first house stuff. So it's very personal
identity.
Incredibly personal. But that's also, I think, something I have here for Mars retrograde. Think of this as a time to find yourself. And you can't find yourself unless you've lost yourself a little bit, right? And this is a time for doing it afraid. That's how courage is realized. This is releasing fear of failure, right? Just doing it anyway. This is, having a strong spine. This is bravery, getting some mojo back. There's parts of each of us, and wherever Leo is in your chart, and this will apply to that segment. There's parts of each of us where we shine. where we're meant to shine and emanate that life-giving force. And no matter where that Leo is in your chart, there is a place where we have that warmth and eminence. And I think that there are times that our shine is dimmed by whatever life has thrown at us, by whatever circumstances we find ourselves in.
Yes.
And by whatever fear holds us back. This Mars is stationing retrograde opposite to Pluto in Aquarius. There's a lot of what will people think?
Oh, yeah. And just, that very public sense of how will this be interpreted? How will I get, and we talked about a feedback loop. It could come from, the peanut gallery, so to speak, from just the public, whether it's your inner circle, just in general, social circles. Just be mindful of how you're interpreting that feedback and what you're doing with it.
And people, how do I put this? People will not believe in you first.
Oh, no.
You have to believe in you first. And I think this is especially true with how quickly we get feedback with social media.
Yes. Social media, for sure.
How many people we now keep in touch with or see or communicate with on a daily basis. Like, we read, write, and speak a lot more in modern times than we have in the past. And I think that's part of what quickens this evolution in general, right? Rapid sort of, I don't want to say rising vibration because that sounds too new age, but how people are now able to quote unquote wake up.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because of this connection.
Absolutely. There's so much more information. I talk about this with my daughter all the time, who's 15, and just she has all these ideas and access to information in a way that I didn't as a teenager. And I say, this was things that I experienced happened before TikTok, before Instagram was the way it is now. You didn't have access to therapists and experts and thinkers in the quick way that we do now when I was younger. And so if you wanted knowledge, I would have to go research or meet with people. It wasn't so readily available. And so it's really interesting how now in this age of Aquarius, it's fast and enlightenment comes, I think, quicker, and it's at our fingertips in a way that it never was before.
And by contrast, flip that over as well. There's also a lot more noise.
So, it's so hard to filter.
A lot more static. And so getting to know oneself, there's a lot of parsing through all the information that you get and figuring out what really resonates with you.
Yes.
And being you in spite of everything around you that might be asking you to be something else. Because if you don't know who you are, other people will also tell you.
Yes. They will fill in that gap for you. When you were talking earlier about, doing it afraid, I wanted to bring up this Georgia O'Keeffe quote. She says, "I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, and I've never let it keep me from doing a single thing I wanted to do." And I think that is the energy here, especially when you're trying to do self-discovery. You may be terrified of what you're going to uncover when you do that internal reflection. You may be afraid of being your full authentic self and expressing that in its completeness, but it should never stop you from doing what you want to do.
There is an astrologer I love named Cam White, and he was talking about asking clients what they're really afraid of.
Yeah.
And how most of the time when you ask people, what are you really afraid of? They smile. And it's because what they're afraid of is also something they want.
Totally.
And I think that we're kind of getting that same energy here in this Mars retrograde in Leo opposite to Pluto in Aquarius. It's like the same thing that you fear, right? What is that quote? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. It's that. What you want is on the other side of what you're scared of.
Yes. That metaphor makes me think of the concept of the pain cave. Have you heard of this? It's a big thing in athletes, especially super ultra marathoners, people that really push themselves to the extreme. There is this beautiful thing called the pain cave where you basically, your body just hurts and you're running, whether you're running or doing the triathlon, you're biking, whatever physical activity. And they'll say it's a place you go in your mind and you just sit with it. You're just in the cave and you work with the pain until you get out of it. And it's this deep psychological resilience that gets built when you just push through the pain. And there's a difference, obviously, between pain where you need to stop and your body is saying no, or just this is uncomfortable and I'm in this extreme discomfort, but it's going to push me through. And we get that resilience, we get that strength on the other side. And so definitely, I think for some of us, we might be in the pain cave a little bit.
It's so interesting you say that, right? So running is a very Sagittarius yang
Yeah.
sort of a thing, but also in yin yoga,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about moving to the edge of your
Yes.
range of motion and being in that discomfort, because if you move to the edge and you hold there, the edge will move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so in both the yin and the yang, Jupiter and Gemini way, like there is definitely, I think, this balance of both internally and externally pushing yourself. This is your one life. This is Mars retrograde in Leo is like, this is your one time. So what are we doing?
What are we doing? Oh, that's so good.
Speaking of what we're doing, we are entering our second transit, which is Venus entering Aquarius on Saturday, December 7th. So just one day later at 12:12 a.m. Central Standard Time. This comes like 7 hours after the Mars station. And Venus is entering opposite to Mars. How much do we love this? I mean, this is so Venus-Mars oppositions can be quite sexy or quite charged, right? There's what I'm doing, Mars, and then what I want, Venus, and they're opposite to each other. So there's that tension. So Aquarius is our fixed air sign ruled by Saturn, 11th sign, represented by the water bearer, think a cloud, and rules the lower legs and circulatory system. So our blood will be pumping. As soon as Venus gets into Aquarius, she conjoins Pluto.
Wow. This is a big deal. You have the word sapiosexuality. Can you define that? I was going to look it up, but then I figured we could talk about it.
Sapiosexuality is being turned on by intellectual things.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I did know that.
It's basically finding intelligence or the pursuit of intellectual things to be sexually.
Sexy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like being
Exciting.
turned on by someone's intellect.
Yes.
Okay.
To me, this Venus and Aquarius transit, especially with the Mars opposition conjunct Pluto, I was like, oh yeah.
That's it. That's
what
100%
this
it.
is. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, and it's hot.
Yeah, right? And it's also going to be useful. We need this Venus right now, I think.
Yeah. I know. She feels like a blessing in the midst of a lot of energy. I love Venus. I love looking at Venus placements in people's charts because it really is a way for you to connect with pleasure and desire. And sometimes the medicine is just what feels good. Do something that feels good to you, and don't shut down your own pursuit of pleasure. And Venus loves to remind us that we have permission to feel good.
And in Aquarius, in some unexpected ways.
Unexpected ways, yeah.
Venus in Aquarius, to me, is excellent at being solution-oriented, at sharing, at connecting, at, revising or revolutionizing, especially art and culture. And I think the last thing I have with Venus in Aquarius is highbrow everything.
Highbrow everything.
I'm like going to the most niche cocktail bar speakeasy and ordering the most complex drink on the menu and then just being like, I admire this.
This craftsmanship, this attention to detail, creativity. Yeah.
And Venus in Aquarius will also tip her service industry professional very well.
Yes, she will. Absolutely.
She's fair.
Yes. So one thing I put in here, mind-blowing beginnings with this Venus-Pluto conjunction. I think this could really, you could see something come out of nowhere and it just, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was possible or that could happen. Something new, something fresh. Themes of mental rebirth or rethinking past dynamics could lead to breakthroughs. I really like this this transit for starting something new, but also, like I said, breaking through a past dynamic that never felt right. Maybe things knit back together in a way that feels complete or is surprising. So just be looking for all of that. And
I think Venus in Aquarius will also help us take that feedback, right? And do something with it and not hate the process of that Mars retrograde in Leo revision. And Venus also rules the first decan of Aquarius. And she has her own Egyptian term from 7 to 13 degrees Aquarius. So she does have more ability here than in most day sect signs. And I think especially as she's conjoining Pluto there in that first decan, those mental rebirth experiences will be of a potentially positive nature, no matter how kinetic they are. It can be kind of intense to get your mind blown all the way.
Yeah, I know. It can be earth shattering and it doesn't always feel good.
Or like your paradigm, I think,
Yeah,
especially
a
with Venus and
paradigm
Aquarius.
shift.
Yeah, just blasting your paradigm open. And if you don't have another paradigm to put in there, it's kind of like, wait,
What just
my
happened?
framework for reality just blew up. Like,
Yeah.
what do I do with that?
It's like having the rug pulled out from under you in a way. So like you need to stabilize somewhere. So that's why this is such a good opportunity to be intentional. Don't let it happen to you. Let it happen for you.
This reminds me of Neo entering the Matrix for the first time.
Yes.
You know, and
Exactly.
you're like, oh. And like he, of course, would never go back. That's what he wanted the whole time. But
he created it even though it freaked him out.
Right. And Venus will be here for a while. She is here until January 2nd. So through the new year, we have this Venus in Aquarius. And then she will enter Pisces, where she exalts and also where she'll do some retrograde stuff. So we're coming up on a Venus retrograde too. Edits.
Does this symbolize, like, I don't know, is it breaking up? Is it getting back together? What are you thinking?
So I got married on a Venus-Pluto conjunction.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, me and my husband are such where, like, if you knew us, you'd be like, oh yeah,
It
of
makes
course.
sense.
Y'all, yeah, second husband, third wife. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
We're in it. But Venus-Pluto, I think some people love it and some people wouldn't. It's kind of like, do you love the idea of having your paradigm shattered? Or is that terrifying? Because some people enjoy that and some people don't. And if you're somebody who really does, I think this could be very almost like a roller coaster, like an exciting that drop where you're like, oh, butterflies, like how fun. And for some people, it could be quite literally like the elevator dropping.
Yes.
You know, and be like, oh, I'm going to crash.
Yes. Is it a joy ride or is it a like tower of fear?
Yeah,
Like
yes.
crashing down.
But I think I'm getting tower vibes about, I mean, like I've said in past episodes, all of the outer planets are changing signs. Every single one. Jupiter onto Pluto in this year of 2025. And so things are going to be very, very, very different.
Yes. I mean, just saying the word tower, obviously my mind goes to tarot and the tower card where everything comes crashing down. But it's a beautiful energy also if you know how to work with it, which is, okay, we're letting it all fall apart so that we can rebuild in a way that is better, more authentic, more aligned to our, whether it's our spiritual path or our goals, however you want to structure it.
Behind the delivery trucks that keep your life stocked, thousands of employees at BP go to work every day. People bringing a new offshore production platform online. People making our refineries capable of more, like making renewable diesel from agricultural waste. People trading and shipping fuels to our customers. And people helping truckers fill up and get maintenance at our convenient locations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
And especially if what you're blowing up was actually a house of cards, it is necessary to remove the illusion. And I think that brings us very well into our third transit, which is Neptune stationing direct at 27 Pisces, also on Saturday, December 7th at 5:26 p.m. That's like we're getting just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
Cazimi, Mars retrograde, Venus in Aquarius, Neptune station. Like,
it's like getting shot, electrocuted with like jolts. Boom, boom, boom. Exactly how you described it. It's so intense, but also it's good.
It's highlights on highlights. And this action is happening in Pisces, which is our mutable water sign ruled by Jupiter. And it's the 12th sign represented by the dual fish and ruling the ankles, feet, and lymphatic system. So we've pretty much got major transits happening everywhere that rules any part of the leg. So I'm getting that, like, we got to get moving. Even if we're going nowhere, like we got to get moving in some way.
Which is so funny because I just hurt my knee skiing. And so I feel like I am somewhat immobile. So I'm like, how am I going to, like, get moving in this? It's working with the injury, right? So it's maybe I'm moving in a different way, or being more conscious of my leg in general. You don't really think about your body parts when they're working well. And then all of a sudden when something stops moving or stops working, you're very conscious of it. So it's cracking me up that my leg is hurt during this week of leg energy.
Mars about to station.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are a super Scorpio. So
hi.
moving a little bit more slowly.
Yeah, that's good.
And you just brought up something I think important, especially with Neptune stationing. Neptune is about awareness, states of consciousness, all possibility. And youth is an interesting thing because in youth, there are many things or aspects of being alive that you do not have to think about because they don't call your attention, right? You don't think about things until they hurt necessarily. You're not even aware that you might have a certain muscle until it's pulled, right?
Exactly.
And I think that this Neptune station could have us waking up to some new sensations, especially in Pisces, felt and sensed realities, which I think will be exciting for us, but it could be a little dizzying. Right?
Oh,
I like
yeah.
Neptune direct because there's less confusion. But even when there's less confusion, sometimes it's strange in such a way as it's difficult to make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So it could be like an example of this is you're face to face with something, but it's like you're not quite sure what it looks like, what the reality is. It's like if you're looking at an art piece and you're a little bit confused about the material, or like, what is the substantive? Is it 3D? Is it 2D? It's trying to make sense of what's right in front of you. And the reality of it may change. It could morph over time. Like you think it's one thing and then it morphs into something else. I'm thinking of those, I don't even know what you would call them, but it's like the meme with is the dress blue and black or white and gold?
Oh, and those seeing eye things where you have to like
Yes.
blur your vision in order to see. That's so Neptune station direct.
Right. Where you can see like two pictures in one. Where it's like, is it the woman's, is it an old woman?
Optical illusion.
Yeah, optical illusion. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. So be aware of what could be right in front of you might be an optical illusion. So get a different perspective, turn your head, so to speak, and make sure you're looking at it from different angles.
From new angles, because this Neptune is stationing also sextile to Uranus and Taurus. And I think that, if you soften the eyes when you're gazing at one of those little picture puzzles, you can see it in a different way. And that's how you get to see the, magic picture or whatever's inside. But sometimes too, if you're so close to something, you literally have to like refocus your eyes deeply in order to see what it is. Because if you kept your eyes looking forward, like you were looking out at the vista, you couldn't see what's right in front of you.
Right.
So I'm totally getting that, there might be some things that, like you said, we didn't see. I love this too. If you have any water placements, get ready for all the clairsentience, the downloads, the dreams, the channeling, the, emotional, spiritual breakthrough energy, because Neptune is also going to change signs this year. It will retrograde back, but it's going to change signs. So this area of the zodiac, especially with Neptune, is quite charged. And I think we are, Neptune is also ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter just had this new moon in Sagittarius that it ruled, but it's still squaring both of them, opposing the moon, but squaring Neptune over there in Pisces from where it is in Gemini. So it might be like a puzzle that you have to put together and like parse through the information to figure it out, because maybe your eyes aren't the right organ.
Correct. Maybe, I love that. It's maybe over relying on our vision when we need to be sensing or feeling into something more tactile. I think it could play out in a lot of different ways. I love that you said, water signs, there's going to be some opportunity for the veil to be lifted a little bit, for some spiritual clarity to come in, and maybe some patterns tied to escapism or illusions actually become clear. And you're seeing, this was a tool that I used to escape or to avoid or to dissolve my reality. And maybe we're bringing it in full focus and letting it solidify a little bit more.
That inner vision. There is a gentleman who watches my Astrology Roadshow on TikTok. And he uses this one word, I understand. instead of understand.
Understand.
And I'm getting totally like Neptune station being like, oh, I'm understanding right now. Like I'm understanding what's
inside.
Yes.
That's really good. I like that word.
And I think it could be really cool to work with it either in meditation or in art. Like if you are a creative person, and everyone is a creative person, but your form of creativity, doing that, doing any automatic writing or speaking or journaling or, ecstatic dancing, just there's a lot that will be inside that I think if we channel it out, then we can either make something with it or we can better understand what it is in the first place when you see it externalized. Jupiter and Gemini externally processes, for sure.
100%. I love this concept of maybe working within that creativity, doing something that gets you out of your typical mode. So maybe you do some plant medicine. Maybe you do some inner therapy, some EMDR you have here. This is like, take whatever mode of creativity you love and how can you elevate it or throw a trump card down and do it. Like maybe you love to paint, but maybe you go paint in the mountains, or maybe you love yoga. Maybe you do it outside. Something a little bit more, just challenge yourself to get out of the typical mode, because that's, I think, where we sometimes experience breakthrough.
And you are speaking to that sextile between Neptune and Uranus.
Yes.
And sextiles aren't automatic. They're an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance here, like if you change your perspective or the setting or the medium, like maybe you're a painter and you're like, you know what, I'm going to use a different kind of paint than I've ever used before. That could be one of those things that gets you to that breakthrough because the opportunity is there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it's also important because Neptune is stationing in the same sign as Saturn. So this stuff has long-term value. It will have long-term implication. The things we realize or clarify or put together, those puzzle pieces, this is going to be important.
Yeah, this isn't just an exercise in futility. These are big things that are going to be building blocks and paradigm shifts that will last, that are really for your ultimate journey and goal in life. And so taking this opportunity and working with it and believing what's reflected back to you. And it's almost like, let's write this in pen, not pencil. These are some things that are going to last for a while.
And with Neptune, I don't know why it's just coming to me. There is like a blending that I'm getting, like this blending of new and old, or of past and future, like this sort of me now and me later and me before. There's this great blending that comes together to, I think, form the perfect palette for this exact moment.
Yes.
And this moment will last. Neptune will be direct in Pisces until it enters Aries on March 30th.
Wow.
So we've got a whole lot of Neptune direct in Pisces. I think that keeping up with this stuff, right? If you are that creative and you're changing your medium, maybe this isn't the last time you change your medium. Maybe you continue through a series on this work, or maybe, if you begin to practice yoga, right? Maybe you keep up with that practice. This is all stuff I think that if we take it through the spring will be a very useful tool, because late Pisces, early Aries is going to be an active area, an active area in the beginning of 2025.
It absolutely will. I think if I could put a bow on this whole conversation, I feel like this is the beginning of a new adventure. And it's something that will take its time to fully reveal itself. So we may be, opening a brand new book, starting a brand new book, or it could be just a new chapter in a continual story. But it's, coming together thread by thread, piece by piece. Obviously, we have an intense series of days in this lunar cycle, but don't forget that this is a continuation of something that started long ago and will continue to unfold in the future.
I agree. And if you can be super present for just 1 week, December 1st to December 7th, be present for this week.
This is the big one.
Be here in your life right now. And then the next lunation will be a full moon in Gemini. So this Jupiter ruling this lunation is focused on, again, this next lunation on December 15th.
We'll be back to talk about it.
And we will talk for sure.
Gemini loves to chat. We'll be yapping.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science, take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at grencoscience.com.